So now we're going to switch gears and talk about triangle congruence instead of triangle similarity. So we're going to review definition of congruence, why triangles are special, and give you 3 of the theorems that we're going to use, and then we're going to look at a couple of types of problems and examples. So remember, first things first, congruence and similar are different words and have different meanings. Congruence is a special case of similarity. It's the case when the scale factor is 1, or and when we have all congruent sides and all congruent angles. And it can be shown through transformations like rotations, reflections, translations. And let's also not forget that triangles are special because they have that rigid figure aspect to them. The sides and angles can lock each other in place, so that gives us some shortcuts to showing triangle congruence. So a couple of these are going to look familiar, like the side postulate. If we have 3 pairs of congruent sides, we're going to have congruent triangles. That means that in addition to knowing that all of the sides are congruent, I also know that I have congruent angles. Again, this one will look familiar. If you have 2 corresponding sides and the included angle are all the same, well, they're all congruent, then the triangles are congruent. So that means even though this isn't marked, we now know this to be true. This one should be new though, the angle-side angle theorem. If any 2 angles in the included side are the same in both triangles, then the triangles are congruent. We can't just have angle-angle because that only shows us that they're similar. By having 1 pair of congruent sides, now we know that the scale factor between the triangles is 1 to 1. So you could be asked to figure out why triangles are congruent. So you could be asked to look at markings or actual lengths and angle measurements, and you would choose so far between side, angle, side, and angle, side, angle. You could also be asked to solve for unknowns when you know that triangles are congruent, like setting sides equal to each other and setting angles equal to each other. And we will be writing proofs as well. So here's some quick examples. Why are the 2 triangles congruent? Well, we have 1 pair of congruent sides, we have 1 pair of congruent angles, and I have vertical angles. So I have angle, side, angle, ASA. Here, the markings show me I have a pair of congruent sides, another pair of congruent sides, and again, vertical angles. So this one is side, angle, side. Here, we're shown these sets of congruent sides, but then we also have DB, which would be congruent to itself. So this is an example of when we would use the reflexive property. If you'd like to run through some additional resources, like if you remember that this was troubling for you doing similar triangles, you might want some extra review, extra practice, and I will provide these links as links underneath the video as well. If you feel like proofs are going to be challenging for you, you might want to take a look at the second resource just to get a head start on that. So some things to write about in your summary. What are the triangle postulates and theorems? Side is a postulate, I believe. The other ones are theorems. And then keep in mind what kind of problems you're going to be solving with those. Then you'll get part 2 will come next, and that'll go through, there's a couple more theorems, and I'll run through some other examples.